Creative Director at DreamWorld Vision, and he is here to demo Dreamglass. So please welcome Ty to the stage.
Hello, hello. All good? Okay. Okay, you guys see it up there? Yep, okay, good. All right, well, thanks to Microsoft for having us back at the Reactor in this awesome 360 stage. And thanks to Super Ventures for hosting the event. And thanks to all of you for coming out on Monday to enjoy some AR. My name is Ty Clark, and I'm Creative Director for a company called DreamWorld. Can I see a show of hands? How many out there have actually heard of us? Yeah. Okay, good thing we're here. Yeah, so for the past year and a half, year and 3/4, we've been working hard to create what I call a low-cost, high-tech, augmented reality, optical see-through head-mounted display, which I have with me today. Now, just because it's low cost, don't think it's missing out on any features. I've got a feature list here for you, and we rank this from 1 to 10, 1 being what we do really well, and 10 being what we can still work on. So coming in number 1, we have our 90-degree diagonal field of view. AR veterans often say this is what we're probably doing better than anyone else at the moment. It's super wide, it's super bright, it just looks great. The text is legible. I'm going to be demoing it after, so if you want to come check it out for yourself, please do. It's affordable, as I mentioned before, relatively speaking. It's $3.99, so it's going to be a lot less. Our goal is to get this out to as many developers as possible, because we think developers are going to be the ones to really push this industry forward, and we don't want you to have to, blow your bank account to get one. We just want as many people to have one as possible, so you guys can start creating content for it. At 4, which is possibly my favorite aspect of it, is it runs on PC or Android. And the Android part's really cool because it can, as I mentioned, you can plug in a PC, but then you can take it out and you can plug it into certain smartphones. So only certain smartphones will work, so it needs USB Type-C and a video output, but newer devices are coming out with that, so it works with all the S8 and S9 series. And that adds several things. Like, 1, it makes your device portable, right? So you can walk around with it. And 2, it adds a whole new level of interaction. You can use the touchscreen, tap, swipe, whatever you want, to interact with your AR content, which has proven to be very intuitive for a lot of new users to AR. A lot of people, when they come to try AR and you have a new hand gesture, it really takes some time to get it right. But people who have no experience with AR will come, and once you show them they can use it with a phone, first they just kind of want to look down like this, but once they figure out they can look up and use the phone, they love it, and they just can pick it up right away. It's lightweight. It's weighing in at 250 grams, which is really light once you feel it. So it's really comfortable on your head as well. We've got 3 degrees of head tracking, so when you put objects in your space and you look around, they'll stay there, and you can put as much around you as you want. We have a very streamlined Unity plugin. As a Unity developer myself, nothing bothers me more when I get plugins and they just don't work, or they're too complicated or not well documented. So we wanted to make it so you don't have to know anything extra other than knowing Unity to build for our device. So I always tell people, whatever you can build in Unity, you can build for this device. We do have 6 degrees marker tracking. That's still kind of in the works, so we'll see if it makes it in our first version. And we also have a headphone jack and a microphone. And without further ado, I'm going to get on to the demo. I'll say this demo was inspired by some of our collaborators. We get a lot of people from the medical industry and also the education field. And so I wanted to create something that would work for both. Anyone see me looking at a heart right now? You. So this is the human heart. Yeah, so we can make it larger, shrink it, and it looks really good. If I put my hand out right now, I can barely see my hand through the actual images, and that's just because the resolution is so good and so bright. Now we can bring up some information. I'm going to use my gaze to look at some different parts. And yeah, we can all learn something today, like how many of you knew what a mitral valve was. Then let's go on to the next specimen. I'm going to use gaze to select this. The skull. I know. But we can actually even look inside of it. And we can check out the different parts. And I'll say right now, everything on the skull is in my field of view. So it's just, as a developer, it's really nice to be able to work with such a large field of view. I don't feel limited at all. And everything just looks really great. And the last thing I have is a plant cell. It's a little bit different from the two, but it was a really nice model. And I'll say too, I get a lot of people that come up to me and ask like, oh, that must have taken you forever to make all these 3D models and put it in. But it's actually really simple. I bought these off the Unity Asset Store. This plant cell costed me $2. You know, it's ridiculous. But you know, again, I want to say like it's really easy to just get started with this stuff. So even if you're not a Unity expert, you're not an AR expert, it's really easy to jump in and create something really interesting and just in a very short period of time. So let's pull up some more information about this guy. There you go. And so now I'm going to use my gaze and I'm going to look at different things and find out some more information. It's definitely more crisp on my screen. You guys are losing a little bit of resolution due to the video output, but it looks really good for me, and I can tell you a little bit about this stuff. Like this one is called the ARLBE apparatus, which is responsible for transporting, modifying, and packaging proteins and lipids into vessels for delivering to targeted destinations. How about that? Yeah. So that was actually all the demo today. And I just want to end by saying that we are looking for collaborators. So if you have an idea, even if you don't know Unity that well, please talk to us and please shoot me an email. Yeah, we'd love to work with you.
Awesome. Big round of applause for Ty. Green glass. Okay, let's take some questions while Kieran from Decentraland gets set up. Who has a question for me? Lots of pictures. Is that for me? No. Question? Rika.
Great looking device. Does it have to be tethered?
It does have to be tethered to something. So as I mentioned, you can tether it to your PC, or in our next models, this part actually comes off, and then it plugs into a small battery about that long and about that wide, and that battery can also hook onto your pocket, and then that plugs into your cell phone, and you can put your cell phone in your pocket, and then you can walk around with it. Or like what I like to do is use it as an interaction device, so you're actually interacting with AR content. And we do have hand gesture too, so what I really like to do is use hand gesture here, and then use like use the touch screen to interact, and then you can throw in a hand gesture to like return home.
Question over here.
Right, I guess you answered my question. Is there gesture-based interaction with rich content?
Yeah, there is. And actually, the only reason I didn't have it on here is because I can't run the video output and the hand gesture at the same time. But in the demo, I have a hand gesture version, so you can come try it out in a bit.
Question over here.
Number 9 on your list was 6 degrees of tracking. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, so we actually had some SLAM-based in our original prototypes, but we just found that the latency was too high, and rather than give a device where things were kind of jumping around, we decided to simplify that. And so we do have marker-based tracking, but we think the latency could be better on that too. So if there's a large request for marker tracking, we can include that, but we might just be limited to 3 degrees for our first version.
Great, big round of applause for Ty. Thank you very much. Our last presenter today is Kieran Farr, WebXR advocate at Decentraland. He has a first look at a demo from Decentraland that is debuting here at AWE Nite SF. So give him a round of applause. He's here to show you what he has. Ready?
Great, so before I begin, I just want to make sure everyone can hear me okay. Sounds like the wireless mic is working. Awesome. So I'm curious, how many people in here own some sort of cryptocurrency? Just a show of hands. Even if it's like, half of the Bitcoin. So there's actually a pretty big part of the crowd here. I'm impressed. And of course, everyone here is into AR, VR, so I don't have to ask those sorts of questions. So what I'm going to be showing off today is a little bit of everything about Decentraland. I'm going to give you some background on the project, and I'm going to talk about some exciting new news we have today. We are releasing our software developer kit. So I'm going to talk a bit about what that means, how you guys can use that immediately to start building virtual experiences on the blockchain. I'll tell you what that means in a second. And then I'll bring it back at the end and talk about how does that all relate to augmented reality. Awesome. So first, I'm going to give you a little background on who I am. This is some pictures from Instagram. So I'm a father recently, and I love my daughter. But I really love augmented reality and virtual reality, specifically delivered on the web. I think that is the future of all these different experiences. So I'm an advocate for all this stuff. I teach A-Frame in my spare time, and I also work with the folks at Decentraland. I also organize a monthly meetup on WebXR. In fact, we just had a meetup last week with some really awesome presenters who are the creators of the browsers that are now supporting these different standards. So check out my Twitter feed, KFAR, and you can check out this awesome video with people from Google, Samsung, Mozilla, etc. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. I'm talking about Decentraland. So Decentraland is a pretty ambitious concept. It's started by about 30 folks down in Argentina. So I'm the only person here in the Bay Area that represents the company. And in a nutshell, it's basically Second Life that has no central server. So it's a virtual world, can work both in VR and AR, that has no central server. And the entire land and the experiences are actually defined in the public blockchain. So I know that's a lot. So we're going to try to deconstruct that. First, I'm going to introduce the concept of land. So Decentraland just had a land auction selling virtual land in December and January. And this is actually a visualization live of the different parcels of land in Decentraland. So each one of those little dots or little squares, some of them have different colors, represents a parcel. And the parcel is a 10 by 10 meter area in a virtual city called Genesis City. So right now, there's about 300 by 300 parcels. It's about 90,000 parcels, and if you multiply all that out and figure out the math, it's basically twice the size of Central Park in New York City. So it gives you a sense of this virtual world. And believe it or not, a lot of people have invested in land. So not all the land has been sold, but on the first auction, I'd say about 75% of the land was sold, and people spent about $10 million in equivalent US currency on these different parcels. So there's a lot that's happened already, and the team at Decentraland comes from a very strong crypto and Ethereum background. So if you compare this to other projects going on, like High Fidelity or Second Life has a project called Sansar, I would describe those as VR first and crypto later. What Decentraland is really the inverse. They started with the economy, and now they're working on implementing a variety of different clients for the web, for mobile devices, and for augmented reality that allow people to experience that virtual world in whatever way is useful to them. Any questions so far? All making sense? So, what are people going to do in this virtual world? This is one visualization of this. What we really think is going to happen a lot is the concept of crypto collectibles. Who here has heard of CryptoKitties? Show of hands. Does anybody own CryptoKitties? A couple people do. So I see someone really far in the back. What can you do with CryptoKitties right now?
Love them.
You love them. There's really not much you can do with them. You can own them, you can trade them, but you can't even really see what they look like aside from a two-dimensional render. So I'm embarrassed to say that I do own a couple of crypto kitties. Here are my 4 kitties. You can't do anything with them. They just sit there. And you wonder, why did I spend my hard-earned Ethereum on these two-dimensional pictures of cats? There's also, has anybody heard of CryptoPunks? So these are a set, I think, of about 10,000 different 8-bit art style avatars of punks, CryptoPunks. And so you also can't really do anything with this. But there's a lot of different reasons. You can write multiple PhD thesis papers on this about why people buy crypto collectibles. That's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is what can you actually do with them. And at Decentraland, what we're already seeing is that with a virtual world, you can start to interact with these objects. So we've already signed on a couple really awesome partners. One is Atheer and they are actually developing out a whole game for the Ethereum version of Pokemon on the Decentraland platform. So I'll show you a couple more examples of what these crypto collectibles look like. We saw the kitties. Here's a CryptoPunk rendered in 3D. More CryptoPunks. Mooncats. It's another one that's free to get. You can actually get mooncats in your browser. Curio cards. This was one of the first crypto collectibles. Rare Pepe was actually one of the first crypto collectibles that ran under Bitcoin. It still is around and doing very well. Crypto Pets. It's another platform that's announced they're going to be working with Decentraland to put some of these objects in the virtual world. So from all of our research so far, this seems like the one application, one utility that lay people, so aside from geeks that like mathematics and crypto and VR and AR, normal people are actually trying to start using this stuff. So we think that's going to be the right intersection of the blockchain and virtual and augmented worlds. And it's not just us that thinks that. There are hundreds of thousands of developers that are making all these different crypto collectibles. So this site, dapradar.com, shows by all sorts of different metrics like transaction volume, total market size, etc., all these different dApps or distributed apps that are running on the Ethereum blockchain. And as you can see from the little green category here in the second column, a huge number of them are actually games. And right now, the only game that you can do with them is trade the objects. You can buy the object, you can trade the object. So it doesn't have a lot of utility. There's not a lot to do with it. And so that's what we're allowing people to do in Decentraland, is actually to build out actual games that interact with the blockchain and allow people to play with these objects in real life. And if you take a step back and think about the state of modern gaming today, you have people, myself included, that love playing certain games where you put all this effort into it and you've accomplished something, right? You have won the special tower that has amazing defense capabilities. You've beaten the dragon and gotten the golden chain. But you have nothing to show for it, and you really can't trade that object that you spent all this hours on to give it to somebody else and make money from it, or at least just to show off, hey, I got this. And so the ability to mix gaming with crypto collectibles and to have a real value that allows it to actually sell this stuff and not on a gray market like the old days of World of Warcraft, gray market gold mining, this is really exciting. And we think this is going to go far beyond anything that we're doing. This is a trend that we're seeing across the market. And again, if you just look at the list of the amount of money that's being spent on crypto collectibles, it's nuts. So what we believe is that we can enable the ability to actually interface and have games and applications with crypto collectibles, and that's probably going to be the first use case for Decentraland. So what did we release today? What we released today was a set of developer tools to allow people to actually build out these experiences and for it to run in a web browser. So one of our thesis statements is that the metaverse must be available to use in open platforms. It should be available for anybody to use. It does not require a proprietary client. So our first version of our client, we'll call it the official client, if you will, is made to run in the web browser. Any browser will work. Ideally, it's something that's a WebVR, XR, AR compatible browser, but we're making it backward compatible using 3JS. We're very excited about this, but it's still an early stage. And so what we released today is a set of developer tools to allow anybody to make a scene in Decentraland. So the few minutes that I have left, what I wanted to actually show you is the very simple process to create a basic scene. And I know it's always dangerous to do this live, but we'll try it out. So here are the basic steps. Does anybody here, who here has used NPM or JavaScript development? Pretty good number. And I promise for those that have not used it, I'll make it very accessible. We'll go through it very quickly. So if you go to developers.decentraland.org, you can either type in your email address or you can just skip down and look at the basic instructions. So there's just a few instructions. The first instruction, npm install -g Decentraland, and installs the Decentraland tools on your computer. It takes about 2 or 3 minutes, so I've skipped that step, done that already. And then you initialize your scene by just typing DCL space init. This is in your terminal. I'm also going to cheat and start with some scenes that are sample scenes that we've already made available. And we're going to take a look at what those scenes look like and how they've been constructed. So we're going to go here and take a look first at just a very simple static scene. And there's a built-in server and preview system here. And in the directory of your project, you just type in DCL space preview, and you get to see it. So this is an example of one parcel. Again, it's about 10 by 10 meters. So the object that you're seeing has actually been shrunk a little bit to fit within that. This is just an object that we downloaded from Google Poly. Yes, this is my reminder that I fit 10 minutes. Is it okay if I go about 3 minutes more, Tom?
Sure.
Okay. This is a very simple thing with just placing an object. I'll show you the code. It's super simple. It's literally a scene. We're going to place a model that we downloaded from Google Poly. Who has heard of Google Poly? About half the people in this room. For those that haven't, this is an amazing resource. Just poly.google.com. And you can find almost any object you'd like. So if you look for treasure chest, there's all these models which are available for download. In fact, you can just filter by those objects that are remixable, and you can download this. So anybody can do this. This has made this stuff very accessible. And so we just placed a forest here. Now, this is pretty basic scene. This gives you a lot. You can make almost anything with this, with the various tools that are available. But let's say we want some basic interactivity. A good example of this is actually a door. I know this sounds simple, but it's a good place to start. So before we jump to the code, let's take a look. So all I've done is I've switched to a different directory that has our door example, and I reran the preview command, and it's simply loading the server, it's compiling that scene, and it's going to open up the web browser into a new window. There we go. What's these two? Great, so this is a very, very simple scene. I see 2 planes that make up a wall, and I see a door. And if I click here, I can open and close the door. Seems pretty basic, I realize it is, but the intention here is to show the basic language that we use to define dynamic scenes with Decentraland. What we have chosen is a hybrid between A-Frame and JavaScript. A-Frame is a really awesome open source project for defining scenes on the open web. So we've used it as the foundation for defining various things, and you'll notice a very similar syntax. So there's a box, and in fact, these 2 boxes here that I've highlighted simply represent the walls in the scene. Right, they're the blue walls. And then we have a door, and the door is also a box. And the only thing that we've done to do something fancy for this transition is that we've given this door an ID, and we set an event to subscribe to when the door is clicked. So when the user clicks on the door, we change the state of the door to closed, and then we adjust the rotation of the door by 90 degrees when it opens or closes. So I know that seems rudimentary for some of the developers here. For those that are non-developers, I hope that at least makes sense about the logic of the scene. The reason why this is so important, and I'll kind of leave you with the final thoughts about how this comes back to augmented reality. Decentraland is made to be a multi-user environment and run using WebRTC, so it's peer-to-peer. So this scene that we've just run on this local computer, that same exact code could run in the cloud on peer-to-peer servers. And that state is maintained across all the different users. And these users can be accessing this platform from multiple devices. So one of the best examples that I'm excited to create is actually a virtual living room, where I can replicate the scene using these tools, create a version of my living room in my parcel in Decentraland, and then using an augmented reality client, I can actually see who is in my Decentraland living room when I'm sitting there in real life, merging these worlds together. And I don't know if that's going to be useful. This is a time for experimentation, but I think it'll be fun. And I also believe that there will be tons of different applications that we haven't thought of. And for us, crypto collectibles is clearly where there's this intersection where there's already existing user interest. So we're very confident that that's something we can deliver right now. But I'm also excited to learn about what are the enterprise use cases. How can we marry the world of the virtual land and the real life land in a scenario that has utility for folks? So I hope that was helpful for you guys to get a sense of what we do, how you can make your own scenes in Decentraland, and how we might be able to connect that to the real world. Come and say hello to me afterwards. Thanks a lot.
Great, thank you so much, Peter. I think we have time for one question before we move into networking. So if you have a really amazing question, it's going to be awesome.
I'm curious about your target market. What kind of people are, buying plots of land, and who are you targeting?
Good question. So I would be honest in saying that the people that are buying land right now are probably in two categories. There are super geeky crypto people, and I would say myself, I'm in that area. So I'm excited about it. It seems cool. The other area are what I would call speculators. So these people are trying to make a quick buck, and they believe that investing in land is a good investment because Decentraland will create various applications that then add value to their land. Now, my job, and what I do at Decentraland, is try to attract not the speculators. What I'm trying to do is attract more developers that can help build out the land. And there's two values of that for you if you want to become a developer for Decentraland. First is it's fun. The second is that there's a lot of contract opportunities that are now coming online because these people who have invested virtual money into these virtual parcels need to build them out, and a lot of the speculators don't have that technology experience. So there's a very real skill set that can be developed in this. It's transferable, so you can use it for other WebXRs and stuff as well.
And where do you buy it?
Where do you buy it? So you exchange Ethereum for mana, which is the in-game currency, and then you can use the mana to purchase land on the exchange. Now, you do not have to own any land. You don't have to spend any money to become a developer.
On what exchange?
There's multiple exchanges. There's like 10 different exchanges that mana is listed on. It's a little cumbersome. I mean, you have to go US dollar to Ethereum or Bitcoin, and then to mana, and then you use mana to buy a land token.
Kieran maybe can explain it after in the networking area. So thank you so much, Kieran. Thank you, Atheer. Thank you, Greenlight Insights, PLNAR, DreamWorld Vision. Just so you know, Centist is over by the beer if you want to give them a shot. They are working a lot with IMAX and other LBEs on making immersive experiences. Thank you for being here at AWE Nite SF, the new name of ARLBE. We are back May 17th here at the Microsoft Reactor. You get to see me again. That's a bonus. So come on back, and I will be announcing the agenda this week. So take a look on meetup.com. Enjoy the rest of the night, drink responsibly, and thank you, Microsoft.